It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining a vitally important conversation this morning. And I love the fact that we get to hone in on this, yes, today, but it should be every day. So the 31st of May marks World No Tobacco Day, which is a global campaign by the World Health Organization. The 2023 theme for this day is "We Need Food, Not Tobacco." Quite a statement. And this morning, we have the privilege of speaking with experts and advocates who are actively involved in raising awareness about the harmful effects of tobacco and promoting a tobacco-free world. Dr. Catherine Egbe from the South African Medical Research Council sat in the center of our couch. Dr. Sharon Ntsia-Tsanza from the National Council Against Smoking, and Lorraine Govender from the Cancer Association of South Africa. Welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us. This is a vitally important day. I understand that this is where you live your day every year. How do you feel? Maybe I can start with you, Dr. Sharon. If we have this upswing in interest, in focus, the whole medical fraternity and those organizations all feeding into just for this one day, what is your hope in your heart of hearts that we will achieve on a day like today? Why is this so important to you?
So I think this actually is very important, and I'm passionate about tobacco control because I believe that the role we're playing in trying to, move the world to a tobacco-free society is important for, protecting human rights, protecting health, protecting the economy. So my hope really is to get to a world one day when no one dies of tobacco use or exposure to tobacco smoke.
Because it feels like we are fighting so hard to find solutions to medical problems, and this one we know. We know the solution, we know what we have to do. Dr. Egbe, I don't know who would be best placed to take us through this. The Global Adult Tobacco Survey conducted in 2021. Obviously, these sorts of moments do highlight, when we see it in numbers, it can drive home. Where do we sit in terms of the world's relationship to tobacco right now?
Yeah, thank you very much. So I was the principal investigator for the Global Adult Tobacco Survey, so it's my baby, kind of.
Congratulations then, I suppose.
Yes. So it was South Africa's first attempt to do the Global Adult Tobacco Survey, so joining a good number of other nations.
Global powerhouses.
So what we found in 2021, remember it was lockdown, so it was quite a challenge, but we pulled through. So we found that about almost 30% of South Africans are using one form of tobacco products or the other.
A third.
Which is
Boom.
quite troubling, because we are the highest in prevalence in the whole of Africa, of all the African countries that have done GATS.
Dare I ask, with this period, you mentioned COVID, so much of the pressure point was around the grey, black market area of cigarettes. Have you seen a shift or a change? Do you think that played a part?
No, I don't think it played a part. In fact, it could really contribute to underestimating the prevalence, because a lot of people didn't have access. Albeit the illicit trade story, not everyone had access, and it was quite pricey then. So some people couldn't even afford it. So
indirectly, it might have helped the situation in a very South African way.
We could have just blown over 30%. And that is quite troubling, because before now, we were sitting in the 20s, and we were really worried about the 20s, and now we're getting to the 30s. And it's something we need to all really be very, very worried about.
Well, it's a knock-on effect on the health system, on the organizations that have to support the knock-on effect. Let's talk about cancer. Let's talk about the relationship between cigarettes and cancer. When we talk about these sorts of record highs of people using tobacco, how does that translate in your sphere?
Yeah, it is a huge concern. If you think about tobacco use, so tobacco is responsible primary cause for lung cancer. And if you think about where does lung cancer feature in terms of prevalence in South Africa, it's among the top 5 cancers. Now, when we think about tobacco use, we only think lung cancer, but tobacco use is also related to 15 different types of cancers. Now, bringing it home again, if you think about one of the top cancers among men, prostate cancer, colon cancer, among women, breast, cervical cancer, all of that have an attribution to tobacco use. So second, and tobacco use, it not only affects the person who's using it, but also the bystander. Secondhand smoke has got over 7,000 chemicals. And
Wow.
69 of those can cause cancer, and 16 has been classified as group 1 carcinogens. So that alone can tell you that people often don't realize the impacts of it, not only on themselves, but by the people that they are exposing.
And I mean, this is a South African story. How often do you see a mother holding a baby with a cigarette in the mouth? It's ignorance. We just don't know. If we haven't got the message across yet with these sorts of numbers, what is it going to take? We're going to delve into that conversation in just a moment.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back as we continue our very important conversation around World No Tobacco Day. The theme for 2023 being we need food, not tobacco. And our experts join us again to put this in its place, the new tobacco control bill here in South Africa. And I'm so glad that we are seeing this kind of response at that level. Yes, we cry that no one is changing despite all of these big numbers. Who would like to talk us through the bill itself? What does this actually mean? I don't know who wants to jump on this. Doc?
Yes, so, the bill is now before Parliament. And really, our call to action is we want South Africa to support the bill. But the bill is not something new. We've been going over this for years. And the bill is trying to just basically reduce the number of people who smoke and, importantly, reduce the number of kids who start to smoke. So it's kind of an improvement on current laws. The bill regulates, for example, e-cigarettes, which are not regulated at all at the current, in the current space. It, for example, ensures that we have pictorial health warnings instead of just text health warnings. So it's basically just trying to step in to improve the situation, because industry, as we know it, will not sleep. It will keep evolving.
You've got lobbyists, you've got
yes,
people campaigning like politicians on behalf of the money.
Yes.
So how do we fight that? Because I don't think there are a lot of people campaigning on behalf of the money on your side of this, this battle. The information that you've developed, the fact that we seem to be following an international roadmap. We know that, for instance, within Australia, they've used very graphic warnings, and that has worked to a degree, but a very different socio-economic setup. With the information that we have now, what's the best way to use it? Is the bill going to do this? How do we supplement what's being done on the highest level through those structures that you represent to get this over the line? What do we need to do you think, Doc?
Yeah, I think the support is one. And I think that people also need to understand why the bill is in place. We know that there's a lot of misinformation campaign right now. We've heard of people saying, no, the bill is going to put you in prison when you smoke in your house. It's gonna... So there's a lot of...
Clickbait.
So we hope that people would understand the fact that this is about their lives as well. This is about the health of the nation. And so if, for example, you are concerned about people's health, you should be very supportive of the bill.
Well, we've seen what the pressure a major health crisis can put on everybody, just not because our medical system just can't deal with that. I've got to discuss the e-cigarette thing, and not from a doctor's perspective, because I want to look at it because there isn't the data to support the link between cancer and e-cigarettes and all these things which we know pretty much will emerge at some point.
Definitely.
What do we know about e-cigarettes? And when you saw this massive mushroom in interest and uptake, how did that make you feel coming from your perspective? Were you terrified?
I was terrified because we do a lot of community engagement and engagement with youth as well. So when we go out there and we do educational talks with them and you ask them, so do you smoke? No, I'm using e-cigarettes. Do you know the harms? No. It's just cool. It feels nice. It tastes nice. And it's so freely available, so I thought it was safe. So although there isn't really the crux of scientific information that we are requiring in terms of nicotine and cancer, however, there is research out there that shows the gateway to cigarettes. And that's what's come out internationally. So people that have used e-cigarettes have switched to normal smoking. And again, that addiction. And what is so scary is the youth, they are so easily influenced by the industry. The fact that e-cigarettes is manufactured by the tobacco industry already tells us that it's not safe.
You don't really need to look beyond that, to be quite honest.
And we know that whatever, if you think about cancer, whatever we do now doesn't affect us immediately. It has a long-term effect. In the same way, the safety of e-cigarettes has not been validated as yet. So I think it's definitely a caution to the youth and people who are using e-cigarettes.
Can I chip in something there?
Yeah.
So with regards to the health effects of e-cigarette, even though we don't know everything, I usually would say it took about 100 years to know what we know about cigarettes.
For sure.
So e-cigarettes is just new, but we have data showing that it's harmful. We already have data showing that some of the things that you don't even find in cigarettes, you find in e-cigarette. E-cigarette has ultra-fine particles that have greater access to your system. So we have some other products that, you know, like, of course, the what do you call it, the propylene glycol, you know, some of the components of e-cigarettes are not there in cigarettes.
Yeah.
So we have an additional level of harm. And of course, there is nicotine poisoning that is happening a lot that we don't hear a lot about.
Oh, and it'll happen. I think what people don't realize is the big advancements in medicine now has been data.
Yeah.
Correlation.
Yeah.
We are now seeing
Yeah.
everything, and we are crunching those numbers, and we are seeing the deaths, the socioeconomic links. We are seeing the pressure that this global collective human problem, it's for everybody. So see who you can convert today. There are helplines available to help you stop. We'll have all of those details up. But most importantly, think about the world, the genetic imprint that you want to hand over to your kids. We have a role to play today. Maybe it's as simple as just quitting.